All right, we're live on YouTube. Yeah, I'm so sorry about the delay. It wasn't entirely our fault. There was that big rain thing that happened over in Dortmund, and then we had one or two other delays getting in touch with people to get their reactions to the events on this first day of knockout football in Euro 2024. But you don't want to hear excuses. You want to hear us making fumbling attempts to record a podcast roundup of what happened in Euro 2024 today. So let's do that. Very soon I will be introducing the mysterious figures who are there on the other side of the table. I'm not sure if they're on camera yet. Not on camera yet. Who are today's special guests? Stay tuned to find out as we begin today's podcast. Blah, 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 intro, blah, blah, blah. It's all in today's Totally at the Euros. Totally at the Euros on, for another 59 minutes, Saturday the 29th of June. It's going to be a special show today as we bring you the start of the knockout rounds of Euro 2024. Got Michael Cox coming up. We've got some James Horncastle with the fallout from Italy. Christian Flack, Slovakian football expert, talking up England's next opponents. That'll be interesting later on. Seb Stafford-Bloor on Germany. And right now, via the magic of actually turning up in the studio, we've got Adrian Clarke. Hello, Adrian.
Hello.
And Sasha Goryunov.
Hi, James.
Lovely to see you both. What a day it's been. What a day. Some stories continuing, some stories beginning. One or two stories ending with the holders going out. Clive Tildesley doing his last major tournament match. And a game interrupted, coincidence, I don't know, by an almost biblical storm.
Yeah, the gods weren't happy with ITV's decision, were they?
It was like when they dug up Tanis in that film. It was sad, though, wasn't it? Clive's final words.
He kept it together, though.
He did.
I was impressed.
Yeah, me and all. It is a sad moment. Sad to see Denmark go out. Is it sad to see Italy go out? I'm not sure based on their performance.
I mean, I think, if anything, it's going to be very interesting to hear the fallout, even just today, and how this continues in Italy.
Well, we'll hear from James Horncastle, who's been there at Ground Zero, listening to what Spalletti's got to say after that. But the results, in case you missed them, Saturday afternoon, Switzerland putting the holders out of the tournament and their misery, beating Italy 2-0. Saturday evening, the same scoreline in Dortmund as Germany beat Denmark 2-0, not without incident that match, the Storm, but also a number of controversial VAR moments. Stockley Park boys on tour once again. Let's begin in Dortmund with Germany-Denmark. What comms are you going for, Lucy?
2-0.
Oh, nice. That wasn't Musiala. It was Musiala, yeah. Okay, sorry about this. No. Yes. Oof. What does it sound like, the commentary?
Very enthusiastic.
Okay,
as you'd
good.
expect in general.
Well, 10 out of 10 for enthusiasm there. Jamal Musiala with his third goal of the tournament, capping off a 2-0 win for the hosts Germany. Lots of things happened in this. The game was suspended for about 25 minutes because of a thunderstorm. And Denmark's attempts to take the lead in this game were severely curtailed by, first of all, a goal for them disallowed for offside, and then almost immediately the same player who thought he'd scored, Joachim Andersen, conceding a fairly discutably handball penalty at the other end. Let's hear now from Stafford-Bloor in Dortmund. Seb, what an evening. How bad was the storm? How good were Germany?
In order, Jimbo, the storm was bad. The thunder from the storm was so loud that it actually made me jump in my seat. Kind of embarrassing, but it got pretty close. And there were probably lightning strikes for about 5-10 minutes before the game was suspended, and you could see them up in the night sky. Some amazing pictures. Germany, different story. I suppose the takeaway will be the VAR interventions. But I think either side of that, Germany played really, really well, created a lot of chances. Kasper Schmeichel played absolutely outstandingly. He was terrific in goal. And I think the speed, the intensity, the cut through of some of Germany's attacking really pleased Julian Nagelsmann. And the German public, the fans in the Westfalenstadion certainly reacted to it. It was a wonderful atmosphere this evening.
Yeah. Right at the start of the game, Germany, after a slightly sluggish final group match, came flying out of the blocks, and Denmark, who'd emerged from the sleepiest of Group C's, looked like a man who kind of stumbled out of a cellar to be hit with the high beams or something.
Yeah, it did seem that way because I think a lot of people thought that Denmark would have a lot of success packing their three centre-backs behind the ball, congesting the middle of the pitch, and that the game would be very cagey, that Germany would play a lot of their football in front of the defence. Obviously, Nagelsmann throws the wicked curveball by starting Sané, taking Wirtz out, putting in another attacking option that was really different. So not another playmaker, not another schemer, but someone who, Sané didn't play, he sort of 7, 8 out of 10 in terms of performance, but I think the range of problems that he presented was the issue and the thing that Denmark really struggled with, because they never really got a grip on him or his movement or the other elements in that German attack. And it all worked really, really well. And also, I think Wirtz struggled for energy in the last game. And I think in the end of a really long, really good season for him, German Player of the Year, of course. But it was just a bit more life in German attack this evening.
Okay. So did we learn anything more? Did they add to their case as challengers for the title this year, Germany?
I think what they did do is show their range. I think we came to the tournament thinking of Germany as a starting 11 with probably 4 or 5 really, really excellent world-class players. I think what we've seen is that Nagelsmann's able to contort and bend this squad around the opponents, and also in a way which perhaps disguises some of Germany's flaws. They're not the very best team in facing defensive transitions. They're not the very best team defensively. They lack that proper, complete number 9. There's no Erling Haaland in this team or Harry Kane. But there are other things. I think one of the big takeaways tonight, from my perspective, was the performance of Antonio Rudiger, who only trained once this week, only trained on Friday with the group, but was absolutely outstanding, which was super significant, Jimbo, because Nico Schlotterbeck came in for the suspended Jonathan Tah. Schlotterbeck, a very talented footballer, but is prone to occasional moments of expressiveness and proactiveness, I think is how you put it. And Rudiger was exactly the partner that he needed tonight. It was very, very solid, very dependable, very mature, read the game beautifully, and for my money, gave the best performance of his national career.
Magnificent. Seb, thank you so much for that. Make it home safely, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye to you, Seb Stafford Bloor. Lovely stuff. Germany through to the quarterfinals, where they'll face the winner of Sunday's game between Spain and Georgia, whomever that might prove to be. Well done, Germany. But I know you fellas want to talk about those 2 VAR decisions at 4 minutes, which saw Denmark going from celebrating a Joachim Andersen goal to conceding a Joachim Andersen handball, and a fairly flimsy one too, eh?
Yeah, it was a brutal couple of minutes, wasn't it, for Denmark? I think with the offside in the build-up to the goal that Denmark scored, I just think, obviously, by the letter of the law, it's a toenail offside. But
it's offside.
Yeah, but fundamentally they're level.
So it's offside.
No, but it's fundamentally they're level.
Yeah.
Okay, and with the doubt over the point of contact, etc.
Yeah.
I think the line has to be thicker. There has to be a margin of error line.
How thick do you want the line?
Thicker than it was tonight.
No, but how thick? Well, because if you could say that's too thin, then what is thick enough? There's always going to be a line beyond which it's thick enough.
There has, but I think a fairer margin of error. I think that is something that IFAB should look at moving forwards, because it is a little bit absurd that a toenail will cost Denmark what was pretty much a perfectly good goal.
What about the fingernail?
Well, on that, absolutely, IFAB need to review that law, because all this talk of the silhouette and body positions is just garbage, I'm afraid. That should never result in a free shot from 12 yards. It's just incredibly unfair. It's a fingernail. He's turning his body, and as he turns his body, his arm is in a normal position. He's not trying to stop it. I think I wouldn't blame the officials tonight. I would absolutely blame the lawmakers, and they've got to make these changes.
With that, though, isn't it always when there's the English referees doing a Euro 24 game that we have these moments?
Maybe they're just really unfortunate. Maybe the gods of football don't love English referees for all they've done in the past.
Is there any sense among the kind of the the football community that, oh no, it's English refs will get.
I do think there is a bit of that. I mean, especially what happened in the France-Holland game, even though I think that decision was correct as well. To be honest, by the letter of the law, I mean, maybe I'm a bit more fatalistic than you, Adrian. I think, look, the law is written. Immediately for me, I thought the Anderson handball was a handball. I'm a big fan of the semi-automated offside because despite the thickness or thinness of lines, you get the decision a lot quicker. And today's decision, I think, would have been a lot messier, I think, without the semi-automated offside. So I think, despite you being a massive Denmark fan, I mean, I'm almost Danish. I used to live in Denmark. I've spent 6 months there. I am a bit more like, well, today, I think Denmark were eventually overwhelmed by a better Germany team. I think almost the weight of chances eventually told for Germany. And I thought, I tend to concur with what Seb said, that it was actually a reasonably impressive performance against a team that's shown itself to be very awkward. I also like the change that Nagelsmann made. At 1-0 up, we saw Emre Can comes on. And I was like, where has he gone? Oh, he said he's a third centre-back. And he was, stepping up when they were with the ball, kind of helping Rudiger defend, even though within 2 minutes, I think Haaland had the chance. But after that, I think they had pretty much the game on a lockdown. And then, of course, without the game going through midfield, Schlotterbeck just goes long.
Well, that's lovely, isn't it? One of the two really, really, really special moments in this game in terms of technique. Schlotterbeck, the ball up, and Musiala.
Second touch finishes it. Takes one touch to just bring it into his stride, and then basically opens his foot out inside the far post.
How far was the pass? 60 yards or something? Maybe not that
six. No, I think it was 60, 70 because it was.
It was a beauty, but the movement was brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought from Musiala, he comes short and then spins, he angles his run,
and then the ball just drops into his path.
It was perfect. We saw some great long passes tonight. There was another one from Germany that led to that controversial handball goal down the left side. We saw Joachim Andersen ping a 60, 70 yard pass that Eriksson brought down on his instep, which was a beauty.
Yeah.
That was lovely,
How
wasn't
did
it?
he do it though? Because he killed it. Normally people just take the momentum out with their instep, but he basically killed it onto the turf.
It was,
didn't
it was gorgeous.
He
It was
stepped
just
on it
pure
almost.
talent, wasn't it?
Eriksson.
Yeah, it was
And what about Kai Havertz's touch?
Oh, we didn't even mention that.
I thought he had a really good game, actually, Havertz. I thought him and Musiala's movement was just brilliant, I think, all evening. But that piece of skill, the ball's going just behind him and he drags it with his back foot and it completely takes the defence apart, doesn't it, and puts him in the clear.
But he doesn't really break stride, does he? He just kind of keeps going with it.
He is a silky so-and-so, Kai Havertz. He just needs to be a little bit more ruthless, I think, in those kind of situations. But yeah, it was. I thought it was a really good game. So much to unpack. I mean, we've not got long enough to really cover everything. There was the other disallowed goal with a blocker.
Yeah.
We should reference that.
So that was Kimmich, was it not?
Yeah, on that, my initial reaction was, oh, that's soft, because you see blockers all the time.
Schlotterbeck has gone up, and this is very early on. I think
Fifth minute.
4 minutes in or something. And he's made the header, but then they call it back because Michael Oliver had seen that Kimmich has essentially seen the defender coming after Schlotterbeck to mark him and just actively gone and body checked him.
He was just too blatant. What he's got to do, he was in the line of his run, so all he's got to do is just sort of stand there and loiter and just hang around.
So that was correctly disallowed?
I think so, because he effectively charges it.
But also, as we were saying, he probably didn't have to do that because Schlotterbeck had a good running start, and I don't think the defender was catching him anyway.
The better team won.
Yeah.
Germany were good.
Momentum is building for the Germans.
Yeah, they looked like a club team tonight compared to a lot of the sides that I've seen in this competition. A little bit stuttery, not that fluent. I think that Germany had a little bit of feel to their game. They played with their hearts a little bit more off the cuff. Not everything was regimented, has to go through the lines, and not everything had to go through Gundogan or Havertz. They play with more feel, and I think that is a really positive sign for Germany. That said, they still gave up a few chances, and I think that's going to be the problem moving forwards.
Okay, the problem when they face perhaps Spain or Georgia in the quarterfinals. Spain-Georgia coming up on Sunday. We'll talk more about that very shortly, but Sash?
I'd like to mention two things. I went to the I went to the Germany-Denmark game in 2012, and I was kind of looking for the survivors from that match for this game. And in that match, Eriksson started for Denmark, and he started today. Schmeichel was on the bench. On the other side, Gundogan was an unused sub, but of course, Manuel Neuer was in that day as well. Germany 1-1. But despite all these Germany wins, you know what? Denmark will always have 92.
There you go. With Schmeichel's dad. Very nice. So, Germany 2-0 winners over Denmark. That wasn't the only round of 16 game which took place on Saturday. Oh no, we'll get on to the other one next. What you got here? A bit of Swiss comms, yeah? Lovely stuff. Switzerland have been waiting. Switzerland have been... Woo! That's the Swiss celebrating their first win over Italy since 1993. 1993. At the Olympiastadion in Berlin on Saturday afternoon. Italy back in the stadium where they beat France on penalties to win the 2006 World Cup final. Getting knocked out here by the Swiss with, I think the consensus is, Italy's worst tournament performance ever.
Couldn't believe it.
Maybe.
Just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and what a feeble defence of their crown.
It's just...
Yeah.
That they, from the first 13 minutes, I think they committed 5 fouls. And that...
Well,
they were just not up to the pace of the game.
You're not the only one stunned by the paucity of the Italian performance, and indeed impressed by the Swiss. Michael Cox was at the Olympiastadion, and we spoke to him straight after the final whistle. First things first, was that the worst tournament performance by any team so far this Euro 24?
Yeah, Italy were not very good at all, were they? And I think really we kind of saw this coming. I think in the game against Spain, okay, much better opposition. But I thought that game could have been 5-0, to be honest. I didn't think they were impressive against Albania. And they got lucky against Croatia. So they conceded the first goal 4 games in a row. And really, I just don't think ever really worked themselves into this game until maybe in the last half hour when Switzerland came back and it was too late. But yeah, Italy offered nothing. I think individually, it's a pretty average team. And collectively, they're probably worse than they looked on paper. So, yeah, there's no positives at all for this tournament, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's talk about how good Switzerland were. 2-0 barely tells the story of how much they dominated this game.
Yeah, they're excellent. And they reminded me a little bit of how they played in the opening game against Hungary. They rotated position very well down the left. Rodriguez stepping back, going out wide. Abish, the wing back, coming inside. And then Vargas kind of drifting around inside, outside. Hisley never really sure how to pick him up. Obviously, this is the first and pretty much ended the game 30 seconds in the second half with a brilliant curling effort. They were excellent. They're very well organised. I think some of their best players actually play in Italy. Abish and Broiler, I think, amongst them, both at Bologna. And they actually reminded me a little bit of how Atalanta play at their best. Good rotations, good structure, players popping up where you don't expect them. And yeah, they just caused this in so many problems. Between the lines in particular, that Italy were very open. And I think you could see the win coming really for 15, 20 minutes.
Did Sommer make a save in the game, Michael?
I'm struggling to recall one. Italy obviously hit the woodwork twice, once with what would have been an own goal. I mean, he never really looks like he's being overexerted, even when he is. But yeah, I can't remember him doing anything.
Well, through to the quarterfinals they go, Michael. Do you think that's their level now? Or might this Switzerland, based on what you've seen, have that special sauce that they could really go deep with?
It's really difficult to tell. I mean, this is the 6th time in a row in World Cups and Euros that they've qualified for the knockout stage. Only France can match that. The perception in Switzerland before the tournament was that this might be the tournament where that run ended. But actually, on the basis of their performance today, maybe it's a tournament where they actually finally go a little bit further and have a real impact of the tournament. I can't help thinking that maybe against stronger opposition, they don't quite have the individual to final third. I'm not sure any of those tactics are really top quality, but they have got cohesion. They work very well as a unit, I think, particularly down the left. It's almost like they're quite flexible and fluid down the left and a bit more solid down the right. I was really impressed. I think in Bolo as well, that's a position they've struggled with over the last 10 years. Just not having a real, not necessarily a clinical number 9, just something who consistently has an impact on games. But I think his ability to come short and link play and also going behind is really crucial. So great credit to Murat Yakin.
Magnificent. Many, many thanks for that on the whistle report. We'll catch up with you soon.
Pleasure. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Michael Cox. Well, yeah, talking up Switzerland's chances going deep. Their next obstacle may well be England. How concerned would you be for England against the Switzerland side that you saw today, Adrian?
Yeah, I think that they're the better team.
Switzerland?
Yeah, as a team. You know, their organisation without the ball is excellent, and their fluency in possession is surpassing anything that we've seen from England in the tournament so far. I thought it was a really precise, accurate, professional performance from them. They weren't up against much. Italy did not do anything, and I mean didn't do anything to disrupt them.
Michael mentioned them hitting the post, which gives the idea that they were.
Cher hit the post for them.
Yeah,
It was so passive, and the Italian midfield was nowhere, a little bit lazy, in my opinion. So Switzerland they weren't up against much, but they still played the ball around beautifully. The rotations that Michael talked about were true. They look in far better shape than England. I think if England are to progress, I see that as a genuine 50-50 game.
Really?
Yeah.
I think today, almost you could say, Swiss technology. It was what the Swiss showed today. But I don't think Italians were necessarily lazy today. I just think they lacked the awareness that the Swiss had. Because, for example, when the Swiss were running behind the midfield, Fagioli didn't know what was happening behind him. Especially you could see it on the opening goal. I thought, again, about the Swiss precision, 33 passes in the build-up to the opening goal as well. And they, everyone, as I say, there was good rotations. And the Italians were literally chasing shadows. They didn't know what was happening around them. Just saw a quote from Murat Yakin. I think it's, just came out now, that, as soon as he saw how many changes Italy made, he thought, I will destroy them. And so, I mean, again, it's wise being after the event, but I think also important, the general confidence in what they're doing. People coming into the tournament in great form, Xhaka at the heart of the overall, the captain. And again, they do have, because I remember being surprised when I looked at the first game, they have a lot of quality at the back and midfield, maybe not so much up top, but again, Embolo is picking up form. So I think...
I like the wide players. Wide players are good.
Abisher, such a cute player as well, so clever with his movement. Great ball in the first half to Embolo as well. A lot to like about them.
They get goals from all over as well. Freul is the 6th different scorer that they've had in this tournament. And then the second goal. So Italy had gone in at half-time, absolutely abject first half, and then Spalletti had the chance to prove why so many people thought that he was really going to lift this national team. They come out for the second half. They perform presumably a training ground kickoff manoeuvre where 4 or 5 Italy players stream forward for Fagioli to then try and find them with a clever ball over the top. Only he doesn't get it over the top. It goes straight to a Swiss player, and 27 seconds into the second half, Ruben Vargas has been left completely alone, and he's curled a beautiful shot into the far corner, and that's game over.
But from Italy's point of view, how did we get there?
I don't know.
It's just like, and it's and I thought the ball from Fagioli was just pathetic. It was so badly hit, and it was such an error. And then the Italians didn't. Their reaction was to stand around going, "Oh, what have we just done?" And then they just never recovered.
Yeah. Going back to the point where we're sort of disagreeing over how lazy Italy were and whether they were just bamboozled by Switzerland. What I would say is that whatever Spalletti asked them to do, they kind of did the opposite. That couldn't have been what he asked them to do. They didn't show any reaction. I was staggered by how timid they were. I looked at half-time at the stats. They didn't recover the ball once in the final third up until half-time. Switzerland did it 3 or 4 times. In the middle third, the place where you need to recycle the ball, you're always picking up second balls. 2 ball recoveries to Switzerland, who had 11. So, and the passes inside the final third, it was 110 to 31. It was absolutely one-sided. And the 6 changes absolutely backfired, didn't they? It was a very... They looked like a team that had never played together before, didn't they? And Switzerland looked like a group that knew each other inside out.
And Switzerland didn't make any drastic formation changes throughout this tournament.
Just one, I think, for this game. What you were saying was Vargas coming in. And,
because it was suspension.
Right.
Well, so exactly.
There you go. So Switzerland for real, or just playing a particularly abject Azzurri?
Well, I think so far through the tournament, they've actually shown that for real. If you look at the body of work in Group A as well, and if you look at how much trouble they gave Germany, for example, I think England, if England get through, are in for a bit of a
performance against Scotland. Scotland
exactly.
could have beaten them, but I think they are genuine dark horses now. Given the draw,
right?
You're looking at Switzerland. You're looking at potentially a Switzerland-Austria
amazing
semi-final. Wow. With the 2 real underdogs that have looked the best on that side of the draw. So let's see, but they're decent.
Okay. Meantime, we're not done with the Italy hand-wringing and gnashing of teeth and stuff, because James Horncastle has just emerged from the various long-faced post-game Italy press conferences. Let's hear from him now. James, you've emerged from the post-game press conferences. The press already labelling this una figuraccia europeo epocale, saying that Italy got asfaltata. What was the mood?
Well, I think there was a feeling that this was coming, that Spalletti has kept changing and changing his team because he doesn't trust it. He's been kind of like trying to find some sort of inspiration, and yeah, again, they showed they lacked that tonight. We've watched a lot of Italy together, James. I mean, that was not the worst defeat that we've seen. There's been defeats to North Macedonia and Palermo. There's been, defeats to, Sweden in a World Cup playoff. Italians of an older generation talk about Korea in 1966. Those are bad results, but the performances, I'd say two of the worst performances I've ever seen Italy play in all my time watching them was against Spain, which was a complete mismatch, and this one as well, where they just walked through this game and they seem to be very timid. And, kind of Spalletti put that down to the fact that the players just aren't able to play high intensity football. They can't match opposition tempo. They can't set their own tempo. They can't sustain that tempo. And they should all go play abroad. And they've got a lot of work to do in that regard. And yeah, I mean, the amazing thing is that after the Spain game, he said, "Look, there is no other way of playing for me. It's all about playing sort of building up from the back, playing expansive attacking football, dominating possession. But if you can't play that football with these players, then are you the right man for the job?"
Well, that's very much the question I imagine a lot of Italians are asking, and probably plenty of them have answers for it too. Is it time for Spalletti to head back to his farm?
Well, he's heading back to a farm of sorts in the early hours of this morning, which, a lot of my Italian colleagues are not very happy about because they're having to go all the way back to the Ruhr, other side of the country, to attend a press conference at Italy's training ground, Iserlohn, where Spalletti will be talking tomorrow lunchtime with the Italian Football Federation's president, Gabriele Gravina. Now, I expect Gravina will basically say, "Look, I'm coming out in support of Spalletti. He's our guy. He's got a contract in 2026. Don't forget that Roberto Mancini resigned less than a year ago. He left us in the lurch to go and make all that money in Saudi Arabia. So it's not Spalletti's fault. Give him another chance." But James, from seeing Spalletti close up over the years, Spalletti can be quite an emotional man. And, I do wonder, is it the right thing to allow him to sort of sleep on this, wake up, pick up the newspapers, read what the newspapers are saying about him, and then make a decision on his future? So, look, I mean, I think he did say a few in his answers today. He was still talking in the future tense, which leads me to believe that he will stay on. But his authority has been damaged, I would say, quite substantially over the last fortnight.
Well, you were saying before the tournament that people had to factor in how little time he'd had to get the team playing the way that he wanted to. But after what you've seen from them in this tournament, and particularly today against Switzerland, would you have any positivity that he is the right guy for this job?
I mean, to be honest, James, the last 2.5 weeks have really surprised me because I do rate Spalletti. I think he's been one of the brightest, most innovative coaches of the last 20 years. And he finally got his due when he won that league with Napoli in 1990, for the first time since 1990. But I didn't expect him to be this skittish when it came to lining up his team, changing his team. He made 6 changes against Switzerland because he felt that they needed more freshness, they needed more energy. But the guys he brought in, like El Shawari, Mancini, Cristante, Fagioli, it was their first start of the tournament today in the biggest game of the tournament so far for Italy. Fagioli is 23. He's just come off serving a 7th-month ban for betting on football. He's hardly played. So there were some nice flashes from him in the first half, but he was lacking match rhythm. And those Roma guys, they're used to playing semi-final Europa League, final Conference League, final Europa League. Those guys are knackered. They're not going to be fresh, even no matter whether they've had 2 weeks off here. So there's a lot of confusion I felt from Spalletti, which, the sentiment in the press room afterwards was very much like it's one thing to be a coach, and it's another thing entirely to be CT, Commissario Tecnico, the coach of the national team. And I think he's still very much figuring that out. I would give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm still surprised about how badly this has gone, even taking into account that Italy were in the group of death with Croatia and Spain, and they still got through. I'm still surprised by how poor they were.
Indeed. All right, James, many, many thanks for that late night update from Berlin. You have yourself a good old rest of the evening, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, guys.
James Horncastle. Is it all over for the sticking the boot into Italy? No. Here comes Adrian Clarke.
Well, no, I was just going to say that, just picking up on what James was saying about Spalletti's reaction, that the players can't play that high intensity football. I just think that's garbage. That's absolute excuse making. Switzerland had a number of players that play in Serie A, and they were doing it. They were running with intensity. They were pressing. There was a moment, I think, I jotted it down on 41 minutes, where you had 2 or 3 players sprinting 40, 50 yards to go and press the Italians, forced a mistake, They kicked it out of play.
Because I think
he's
they
chatting
knew
rubbish.
what they were supposed to be doing, and I don't think any of the Italian players knew, or it looked like cared.
And why would a manager want to admit that?
Well, indeed. Anyway, Italy exit, and that's probably a good thing for all concerned. Next up, we'll get on to 4 teams who are hoping to make it through to the quarterfinals in their games on Sunday. What brings you all the football news I'll start that again. What brings you all the football and indeed a third time. What brings you all the football news you need to know from across the Euros, Copa America and beyond in just 10 minutes? Anyone? It's the Athletics Daily Football Briefing. That's right. And it's with you every day during the summer, whether you like it or not. For a deep dive into the bigger Euro issues, transfer stories or managerial movements, what do you need?
Athletic Football Podcast.
Well, yes. Athletic FC Podcast, but I'll take that one. So, yeah. That's around every weekday afternoon, true or false? True? Yeah. If you missed Friday's show, they had a closer look at France and their underwhelming tournament so far.
Was that with Tom Williams?
I don't know, Sash.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Let's check it out. Sunday at the Euros, we've got another 2 meaty matchups for you at 5 o'clock UK time. It's England-Slovakia. That's in Gelsenkirchen. And then at 8 o'clock, how about Spain-Georgia? Woo-hoo-hoo. England first, though, In the past 2 weeks, Gareth Southgate's side have gone from being tournament favourites to being sworn at by BBC hosts to being serenaded by Slovenians. And then you'll play it in the thing. Are you going to play that? Everyone, you've probably heard the clip. We're just going to play that clip of like, thank you for the point.
With the guy lying down, I think, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, dear. Well, now, after the goalless draw last Tuesday against Slovenia, which made it 2 wins from their last 8 games, will Slovakia bring fresh misery for England? We spoke earlier to Slovakian football expert Christian Flack of the Nachi Becky podcast. Christian, how's the mood ahead of this game with England?
I would say generally there is a great energy in the air, surrounding it. So far, everyone is pretty much pleased, not only with the results, because even though the results have been decent, so far, we actually getting out of the groups was basically the main target. But everyone seems to enjoy the playing style which Calzona and his coaching staff has installed upon the whole squad. So basically the team is playing more dynamic, with courage, with higher tempo, and it's just a modern football which everyone in the Slovakia seems to like it.
Okay, slight difference there with England, who come into this game in a very different form and with a very different atmosphere around them. Having seen England's performances, what do you think Calzona will do? How do you think he will try and defeat Southgate's side?
I think they will just stick to a natural plan because that's what they have been doing for these past 2 years. They were just building upon the same principles over the game throughout this whole campaign, and it just doesn't even make sense, for them just to basically switch it completely for this game. The way Slovakia is playing right now, it's built for their strengths. So basically, in the build-up, we have a really good three players, which are like the main stars right now. It's Milan Skriniar, Stanislav Lobotka, and Hansko. And all of them are really good with the keeping the ball, having the ball on their feet. And then in the other side of the spectrum, we have a really good runners up top. So we also want to press really high the opponent. It will looks like pretty similar to the Belgium games because there Slovakia was also a heavy underdog, but they still kept their identity and wanted to express themselves the same.
How much optimism is there that Slovakia can make it to the quarterfinals?
The hopes of getting past England are still really modern, and everyone feels like we are heavy underdogs coming into this match. England has one of the best squads I basically ever seen on the paper. Also, even the players feels like the England isn't having the best tournament so far in terms of performance, but still everyone is also aware of the sheer just quality that all players are able to produce. And also what I actually found quite interesting was that a lot of players were actually more pleased with the draw. And what I meant by that is that the second option was basically Spain. And based on this tournament so far, the players were like, okay, England is a really hard choice, but it's still based on the tournament. It's something that could be more done, basically, They just basically also summarize how the England have been shown up throughout this tournament, because I don't think anyone would set something like this before the tournament, actually.
Sure. If you were to go through, would that be the biggest result in Slovakia's history?
I would say for sure, because we didn't get past this stage so far. And we also played against England once, I think it was 2016, but it was just completely different match because we were just trying to survive for the whole 90 minutes with a really good defensive job. But right now, I think we will maybe even cause an upset, not in terms of the result, but in terms of actually like playing the game and maybe even having a greater possession than England.
All right, Christian, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to see what happens in Gelsenkirchen.
Same for me, and I enjoyed. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
There you go, Christian Flack. What a nice gentleman he is too. So England and Slovakia, I read, have the lowest expected goal tallies of any of the last 16 teams, and they face each other Sunday afternoon. Is it going to be one of those games, do you think, Adrian?
It could be. They've both got the lowest XG per shot as well. So
really?
That's the measure of the quality of the chance. Slovakia 0.09, England 0.1, so pretty much identical. It could be another low-scoring game. Look, we've seen the movie 3 times already, haven't we, in terms of England against teams they're expected to beat, and we've seen very similar performances, very flat, lacking thrust, energy, tempo, width, etc. So I would love to see the team shaken up. It's not going to happen.
Okay, so you think no?
It won't be shaken up,
Right.
but I would shake it up this way.
Right.
I would bring Alexander-Arnold in at right back for Walker, who I think struggled.
Right.
I think I'd bring in Gomez, the other Liverpool fullback, on the left. Keep the centre halves the same. Drop Bellingham in alongside Rice.
Right.
Have Foden at 10. Saka right. Gordon left. Kane up front. You need width and pace down the left.
Right.
It has to be Gordon or Saka. That's the only option for me. Otherwise, we're going to see the same repeat.
Well, I'm sure England fans up and down the country are thinking up similar formations that they feel would improve things for England. The consensus seems to be, though, that Gareth won't do any of that. So do you think that the performance will be any better? And Sasha, what are they saying about England, given the enormous disparity between the talent pool and the results so far around the rest of the continent?
I think people are pretty much openly laughing at England now. And the thing is, this is not a new sentiment. I remember discussing this with people during Euro 2020, which was played in 21, and there was certainly very dismissive kind of attitude towards Southgate and his tactical approach, and how flexible he could be when he comes up against coaches of some of the other sides. And to be honest, England did get to the final in 2021, but I think from the outside, it was people went down to the players rather than the genius in charge of the team. And I think what's happening right now is definitely bewilderment. How can you be this bad? And also trying to understand how can this guy be this sort of reverse alchemist to turn a bunch of it's an unbelievable squad. Yeah, it's like, how can he make them all so bad? And to the extent that I don't really want to watch England-Slovakia game, because what am I going to see?
Well, what are you going to see? Might you see the team that beat Belgium back in their opening game pull off what would surely be the biggest of Euro upsets?
I think it's still unlikely. I think England are still worthy favourites. England haven't given much away at the back, have they? I think that is one.
But have they been attacked that much?
They haven't been attacked that much. Will they be attacked that much by Slovakia? I was looking at their record. They've lost games, Slovakia, across this season and in the last couple of seasons. They've lost one of the last 26 by 2 goals. So this isn't. I don't see this being a convincing win. I mean, if it is, it'd be fantastic. I'd love to see that. But Slovakia are a very competitive side. I think that they can absolutely run England close.
Well, you can actually. I remember talking about the Slovenia game. Slovenia lost two games in 2 years as well. They're a team that doesn't lose much, and England didn't make much headway there either.
No, that's
so. It's
one other thing about this, which people have been talking a lot about. Francesco Calzone, the Slovakia manager, who never been kind of a head coach before, but he'd worked at Napoli under Maurizio Sarri, and then also with Luciano Spalletti, and this was seen as kind of almost a part of his credentials that he worked with Spalletti,
like a pet prodigy. But yeah.
But the weird thing is that while Spalletti's really struggled to bring his philosophy to the national side, Calzone certainly is. I mean, the Slovakian people talk about him being a transformative influence, as Christian was saying, that they're now enjoying watching their team play.
They're not just low blockers, are they? They can pass the ball. They can absolutely. They've got good, strong midfield.
And Lobotka is a midfielder that I think any national team would like to have.
Lobotka's been excellent, hasn't he? Yeah, Kuka's in there as well. Yeah, they've got a number of good players. This is going to be maybe slightly harder than the Slovenia game. There's not much between those two sides, I'd imagine.
Because I think certainly there's going to be more ambition. Because again, Slovenia, as the previous said before the England game, they have an 11 plus Josip Ilicic. They can't really do much apart from being very compact. But I think with Slovakia, they can make that other step, ask some more questions of England. But still, I'm just not expecting a classic here.
All right. Maybe we'll get one in the evening game then on Sunday, which is Spain against Georgia. It'll be taking place in Cologne. Is it the biggest mismatch imaginable? Certainly from the teams available. You've got Spain, who have been the standout performers so far this tournament, and you've got Georgia, who were surely the lowest rank of all the teams.
75th. So I think they went from big mismatches in the group to an even bigger mismatch right now. But
they just beat Portugal.
They just beat Portugal when Portugal were already qualified and had fielded their B team, but they did beat them 2-0 even when all the subs came on. What is also maybe worth looking at is what happened last time they played Spain, who they take on tomorrow. They took them on in qualifying for the Euros. Sasha, it didn't go well.
Well, it didn't go well once, and then it went a bit better. In September...
I would say it didn't go well once, and it went slightly less badly the second
time.
No,
but actually...
so they lost 7-1 in Tbilisi at home to Spain.
And they could have lost probably 14-1. Really? It was bad. It was bad.
And then they went and played in Spain, and they only lost 3-1, was it?
3-1. And 3-1. It was, I think, significant changes between those two games, between September and November last year. Because, I was rewatching the 7-1. So Georgia lined up with a 4-4-2, with Hvice trying to kind of cover the left flank against Carvajal, which just made no sense at all. And by halftime, it could have been 10. It was only 4. But basically, there was no compactness to the team. It was, again, players of lower quality. There was no alchemy between them. No synergy in terms of what they were doing. And really, it looked like who came up with this horrendous formation, because they were just torn open. That game was significant for Spain as well, because on the 44th minute, not even at halftime, 2 guys came on. Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. So for the first time they played together for Spain. And what we saw in the second half was Nico Williams up against an isolated right back, and he basically took the piss out of him. So the right back could substitute it.
Awfully sorry for
Oh, is that? I'm sorry. No, but that's what it looked like. It was horrendous. And there was no third defender helping him. And it would just look, on all levels, it looked awful. And then you go to a couple of months later, we see the 5-3-2, which we're familiar with now. Suddenly, not much space at the back, very complex. Everyone helped each other out. Okay, Spain were dominant. Mamardashvili also had a much better game, but they remained competitive. And key as well, they scored an absolutely perfect goal, I think, to score against Spain. High line, perfect pass into Kvaratskhelia, who ran away and got the goal back. Again, we saw something similar. Okay, off an error against Portugal, but precise pass through the back line can open up. And they have got, as Bikautadze and Fiche can both do these things. So, again, 7-1 bad, 3-1 better. And at this tournament, by the looks of it now, anything could possibly happen.
1-1 extra time. Mikatadze finding Kvara early on. Mamardashvili, the keeper, how good is he? Is he the best Sorry, is he the best keeper in the tournament?
Well, he's definitely the best keeper in the tournament. I think he's probably definitely the best goalkeeper for an underdog. Again, he's very good in terms of shot saving. In terms of with his feet, he's not great. But I heard that apparently he was used to be even worse with his feet. And then Gennaro Gattuso turned up at Valencia and got him playing a bit. So he's not bad. But I think maybe he is perhaps De Gea-ish. Good saves well. Maybe better off his line, actually. I think what we also saw, in last year, he's improved a lot coming out for the crosses, because I think this tournament he's been absolutely solid. I don't think there's been a single flap. Been very commanding, especially in later stages. And again, he's outperformed his XGOT massively.
To cause an upset, they need a good goalie.
Goalie, yeah.
You need a match winner.
Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah,
And Bikautadze, they got 2 now, actually.
True, yeah, exactly. He's on fire, and you need good organisation and a little bit of spunk, don't you? And they've got all of those ingredients. I still think they'll get beat because Spain are a fantastic side, and I love those 2 wide players. But this could be a better match than some are expecting. I think Georgia, they're going to give it everything, aren't they? They're going to play with heart and courage, and maybe they can get on the score sheet, but I think they're going to struggle to contain Spain.
When we caught up with Nika Kevkashvili after their last result, the Portugal win, and they were in the midst of their celebrations after that incredible victory, he said, yeah, of course, Spain, no one gives us a chance, but you know what? No one gave Greece any chance of winning Euro 2004. So there you go. That's where the mark is lying.
But I tell you what, Georgia winning this Euros will be a lot more fun than Greece winning Euros in 2004. But I think it's also interesting as well, like in their approach, that they're not very good low blockers. They can low block for it, but when they get on the ball and when they play a bit and when they keep a bit of the ball, that's when you see the best of Georgia.
Okay, they certainly have all the motivation in the world.
Do
they not, Sash? You were explaining some figures about this.
Yeah, so came out, I think, in the aftermath of the win, that Bidzina Ivanishvili, who founded the Georgian Dream Party, which is currently the ruling party, he's like the big local oligarch, and some say, he basically captured the state. He's given them 30 million lari, or 10 million euros to the squad for getting out of the group. Now, to put it into perspective, Dinamo Tbilisi, whose academy was all over the Instagram the other day, Ronaldo went to open it. The club, I think without the stadium, but the club, so the base, the training ground, the academy and stuff, is up for sale for a similar amount of money. So maybe they should just invest it into the football club. But basically, this is a huge amount of money.
So he's given them 10 million euro for getting out of the group. And he's offering another 10 million for getting to the
for beating Spain.
Happy with 1 million.
Well, they got 1 million for qualifying.
But they've already done it. So it seems excessively high.
But this is almost, I look at it and I'm thinking, you look in the context of last 3 months, with this, foreign agent law, the Russian law they call it, being introduced. A lot of the players have spoken out, certainly in social media, supporting the protesters, saying, guys, look, the general message is, guys, let's probably pivot away from Russia towards Europe. Whereas the ruling party is actually very, let's keep on pivoting towards Russia. And the interesting dynamic here is the FA is all pro-ruling party. Even Kahakaladze, the mayor of Tbilisi, the former Milan legend, he is very much the party man. Ivan Kobiashvili, who runs the FA, he is very much the party man. So I look at this, largesse right now, and I'm thinking, well, are they trying to buy their loyalty or something like that? I mean, it could be, the guy has lots of money and he loves football too. But, in this incident, I think definitely politically, everyone would be jumping on this right now.
If he's got all this money, why is Willy Sagnol the worst paid manager at Euro 2024? And he earns, let me work this out, he earns, is it 5% of... I'm trying to do live percentages. So what's he on, Sash?
I think he's on under 200k a year.
That's
200k euros, yeah.
And what's his opposite number in Sunday's match on?
Oh, I don't actually know. I know Southgate's on 5 million, is he?
I don't know.
But
Okay, De La Fuente's probably on less. Okay.
So I don't think De La Fuente would be on that much. But yeah,
Right.
it's completely outside. I think, weren't Ireland looking at Sagnol to hire him? I think he's probably out of their league now. But also, in terms of the project, and again, I think it's not as simple as some have presented it in the aftermath. Wow, investment in infrastructure, and he's been praising the FA, and UEFA has been patting themselves on the back of giving this guys lots of money as well. It's a lot of like local businessmen, like the guy, Tbilisi, they're investing their money as well. So it'd be interesting. I mean, I'm already looking to the future, after this tournament, what would be the legacy? I don't think this will be a flash in the pan because, there's a lot of these players at 23, 24. I think you also have to bear in mind, it's not a big country. It only takes very few people to be very powerful within football. For example, Kvaratskhelia agent, Mamuka Djugelia. And, he's a guy who's had his fingers in a lot of pies for a very long time to do with football. And I think he's in the background with a lot of things to do with Georgian football. Already, during the tournament now, Mikhail Tadze at Metz. Of course, Metz are going to sell him. I think apparently the latest thing, he's probably going to go to Monaco. Mamardashvili, Peter Lim, of course, is going to sell this guy to get lots of money for him now at this stage. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, he's at the tournament. His dad and Mamuka Djugelia, Djugashvili was another guy. They go on local television and start talking about his move to PSG and ambitions and stuff like that. I think Napoli immediately come out. No, this is our player. And like, what part of the reason why people back in Georgia think maybe that he wasn't great in the first couple of games was because there's too much noise and he can hear it and there's so much pressure on him already. And there's these dudes already moving him to PSG during the tournament. So a lot of this, I think it will take. I would like this to to succeed after the tournament for them to grow, but I think there's a lot of forces pulling everything apart, including an election in Georgia in October. So I think these guys, at the moment, I think it's a great story because it unified all parts of the spectrum. But we'll see what happens after this. But I think for now, of course, they're focused on Sunday, and if they play well against Spain, and they're already heroes, they have absolutely nothing to lose. And which they've shown, they have a system that
They're
works.
rich heroes. Yeah.
And they're very rich heroes as well now as well. And again, I think one of the things with these players, a lot of second division players, like Chakvetadze at Watford, for example, like Ochorashvili is at Levante in La Liga. Of course, they're going to move up as well. They only have 3 players, and they all start in different games who play top flight of a Big 5 league. You have Mamardashvili, Kvaratskhelia, and Mikhail Tadze, who just been relegated. So it is a real underdog story, and it's great because they're so watchable. Everybody, I think, wants to see the Spain-Georgia game on Sunday just to see what happens.
There you go. 8 o'clock, it'll kick off. Sasha, thank you very much for that full and frank exploration of the background of this remarkable Georgian run into the knockouts. Good. That's it, though, for today's Totally at the Euro. So many thanks to Sash and to Adrian. Who else was on? We had everybody, didn't we? Seb and Michael Cox and Christian and James Horncastle. I think that's it, isn't it? Yep, that's everybody. Oh, and Liam and producer Lucy in the booth. And you there at home, especially. Sunday night, we'll be back after Spain, Georgia, and the England game earlier on. So do join us for our thoughts on those and more. For now, from all of us here, it's goodbye. Hurrah. Okay.